Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sultans of Swap. It is April 25th, 2016. I am joined by Mr. Edwin Anderson. How are you, sir?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
Very good, man. You all moved in?
Oh yeah,
Very
ready to
good.
go.
And from the sports card investor mansion surrounded by baseball cards, Mr. John Anthony. How are you, sir?
Yeah, they're all over. They're all over. They live in my house. I'm just renting some space.
Yeah, very good. Well, first and foremost, if you're checking us out, if you found us on Twitter or Facebook or wherever, man, thanks for checking us out. I've talked to a few people this week. I guess they had some time off. I know I talked to one guy, and he was like, yeah, I listened to all 16 episodes at one time because I had some free time. I thought that was amazing, man, and
That
I
is
really
amazing.
appreciate it. So I can't even listen to myself for extended periods of time, let alone for like 16 straight hours. I think I would pass out. So we were debating on what we were going to talk about today. Not really debating. We were discussing, and I said museum, museum, and museum. I'm really excited about the product. I know, John, you've busted a bunch of it. Edwin, you got your personal cases. So I figured museum would be a good place to start. So whoever wants to start first, I guess my biggest question is, because I've only bought 4 cards. I do what I always do. I cherry pick the ones that I want. But I'm curious to you guys' overall impression of the product. Whoever wants to lead off, man. I'll start with Edwin because you busted 2 personal boxes. You had the picture of all the wasteland afterwards. You invested. I mean, it's a good amount of money, man. You put a good amount of money into those 2 cases. So do you feel like you got your money's worth out of it?
I hadn't really sat down and tried to figure it out. I mean, I had 2 really good cases, lots of hits, some pretty good one-on-ones, and those types of things. Um, as far as the product overall, I don't think, I think it obviously met my expectations. I kind of knew what I was getting into
Right.
when I got the product. There's a lot of things about the product that really, appeal to me. Um, I love the on-card autos, the jumbo autos. I love a lot of the nice relics and a lot of cool stuff. They added. I feel like they added a lot more opportunity to get one of ones this year. I don't know. Maybe it was just me. I'm just kind of being lucky, but I felt like when some of the hits were a lot higher this year than maybe in some of the previous years because I felt like you had your normal case hits and a couple cards here and there in the previous like in 2014 or 2013, but I feel like the quality of the hits were a little bit higher this year. I think John will probably speak to this, but I think the thing that drove some people nuts was the randomization of the relic qualities, on the cards. But I got some
So
really
what do you
cool
mean? Like
stuff.
an out of 5 would be decent, and then an out of 75 would be insane? Because I've
Yeah,
noticed that myself.
yeah. And I think it was the other way around last year. I mean, I think the thing that bothers me, if I have to say cons about this year, when you find like a primary pieces card or like a primary pieces quad relic of like a single player. Um, there can be a plain Jane primary relic. So when you're looking at, I don't know if I have one in front of me real quick. If you're looking at, here's a perfect example. Here's a primary pieces Clayton Kershaw, right? So the primary piece is the large one. On
Hmm,
most of them, there's a relic, or so, I mean, they're all relics, but there's a jersey
something.
or something on there, logo man or something. But I mean, that's pretty much plain Jane right there. I mean, that could have just been a jumbo, just one piece of fabric. I mean, as far as I care. But then you find, other cards where um, I don't know if I'll be able to find like a good example, but anyways, you may find another one where here's an example where you have like
Yeah.
a good primary piece, but I really got some really cool stuff. I mean, I love these. This is my first kind of name
Yeah,
plate.
Pat Barrel. That is really cool, man.
That was pretty cool, and pulled some nice uh, booklet. So some pretty cool stuff, man. I thought there was some really nice stuff in there. redemptions. One of the things that kind of threw me for a loop, usually when you open the Topps product, all of the redemptions, pretty much nowadays, I mean, they pretty much look like this. But yet, I got a couple plain Janes in there too. Not that it really makes a difference or anything. I mean, they both, pretty much redeem the same, but it just kind of throws you for a loop. Why someone would have got the standardized version and another redemption card just kind of had the, like as an afterthought or something.
I noticed that in Strata too.
So, I mean, it's I was pretty much satisfied with the product. I mean, to be honest with you, I've been on the fence a while about getting another case or something. But
there you go. So that's good, man. I mean, you got what you expected, which is I think these days is a win. Johnny, how many cases have you opened so far?
6.
And what are your impressions, sir?
I thought it was the best museum they've done in a really long time, for a number of reasons. The first thing that I really like, kind of to piggyback on Edwin, and he knew I was going to talk about that, so it was a great segue. I personally really like the fact that they're putting really nice patches in some of the, when I say higher numbered, the out of 75. I like that, and I'll tell you why. Because, yeah, there you go.
This is
the majority of the relics that you're going to get is going to be out of 99 or out of 75. So to have an opportunity to get a really nice patch in there, and 4 or 5 times what that would sell for with just a plain relic, I think is appealing to me. Yeah, there you go.
Another of 99 for you.
Exactly, which is really nice. What I will say they should have done a better job with, the only place that I think they really dropped the ball was, I agree with Edwin, from a customer standpoint, the out of 5 and the 1 of 1s really need to be nice patches. I mean, from strictly a patch standpoint, this is one of, I mean, would you say this is their most desirable patch product of the year? I mean, listen, triple threads, right? I mean, one could argue.
I actually think, and I know I'm biased, dude, but you already know what I'm going to say. I actually think Strata, because of the size.
Yeah, but that was a new product, so we kind of don't know what they're going to do, and they did exactly what I just said. They all different numbers were great patches.
I think museum, I mean, other than Dynasty, obviously, which are all nice patches, I would say museum is probably Topps's, it's their best product.
But even in Strata, they did the same thing with the patches, the really nice ones in all different numbers. But I think they just need to really make a conscious effort to have those out of 5s and 1 of 1s be really nice pieces of the logo. Look, we all know these guys wear so many jerseys. There's no way there's a shortage of uniform material to put the really nice stuff in the low-numbered cards. That would be the only complaint that I had. From an upside, man, there were just some unbelievably loaded cases. I had a case with 5 1-of-1s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable. So I think they did a great, and part of that goes to this new thing that Topps is doing, which they say they're doing. Who knows if it's true? They're only printing to order. So whatever orders they get from storefronts and distributors, that's all they're printing. So I think that's why we're seeing some of these cases a lot more loaded than in years past. I mean, think about it. How many bad names are there really in museum? Which I think is great.
I mean, relative to other products, I don't really have a great sense of it yet because I've only seen a few cases ripped. Edwin, I mean, I've maybe seen a dozen cases. I would agree. I think for the large part, I mean, I don't know what cases are running. I think they're like, what, $2,100?
Something like that.
Right around there. I don't know, man. For $2,100, they better be pretty loaded.
Look, I mean, you could say that about any product. It's all relative, right? I mean,
right, yeah.
It's all relative, but
I'm saying you're going to get something nice for that investment.
Yeah, and I agree, but I'm just saying, in years past, man, Edwin, how long have you been opening museum? A while. Like, how many times have you seen cases on the regular with 3 or 4 1-of-1s or 5 1-of-1s or yeah, right. See what I mean? Like, they're doing a good job, I think, with the names and the content. Generally speaking, I think there's a few adjustments they could make, but I think generally speaking, I think they did a solid job with this product.
I think, just comparing it to other museum years, I like it exponentially more than 2013. I think 14 and 15 were pretty much the same thing. They really just changed the shape of the relics. It would still had like the white border. But I think this is a really nice product. I really do like what you guys have been saying about how they put nice patches on higher number cards. But one thing it gets really frustrating is for the buyers, because it makes the market very difficult to measure. Like, if you think about like a traditional price guide, and all the time an out of 99 would be valued less than an out of 75. But particularly with Museum, and this was also the case in Strata, the numbering was irrelevant. It didn't really matter. Like, what it all came down to was how nice the patch was on the card. I mean, that's what drove the price. And I think traditionally people are very used to a number. Like an out of 5 card is always going to sell for more than an out of 25 card. Where maybe here that's not the case. Or even an out of 75, man. I've seen some out of 75 museum cards that are nicer than the out of 5s. Yeah. And so it makes putting a price on that as a buyer pretty difficult. I mean, I know eBay takes care of a lot of that because you just bid whatever it is. But when you're trying to do for the lack of a better term, like a third-party sale type of gig, I think pricing those museum cards becomes pretty tough.
Yeah, I think in addition to that, I mean, obviously that was the kind of inconsistency of the the patch distribution. I think that was one of them. A couple other things I noticed, since I can be so critical from year to year. Like in the 2014, 2015, you had most of the cards were kind of the gray border, which I really like because it hides the chipping, kind of issues and whatnot. This year, you also had a spattering of the dark, border cards as well. So I will say this though, time will tell, if they kind of age a little bit, but they seem to come out in pretty good condition. I mean, they took pretty good care of most of the products, but then again, these aren't being passed back and forth with the player, being shipped around, so it didn't really have a lot of wear issues on here, and even the autographs on a lot of the relics obviously were sticker autos and things like that, so not a big issue. The other thing that I noticed too is from either opening cases or watching cases being opened, even in some of John's breaks, the team distributions were a little uneven in some cases. You found like some cases or some boxes that were like there was an overwhelming majority of one team in that box, like the Mets or whatever the case may be. So it didn't seem like it didn't really get randomized as much. Like for instance, one of mine, I had a lot of Yankees in there. So I think that was a little bit more common of a theme. The randomization of the teams, I think, probably left a little bit more to be desired, as well.
Did you find that to be a problem in yours, John?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a big enough sample size, both with what I opened and other stuff that I watched, that there were some teams like the Mets that are just beyond loaded. I don't understand how. I don't understand if it's just because they have more guys than everybody else. So just by default, they're going to have more cards. But I think it goes back to what I mentioned before about Topps printing to order. And they just don't, they're not just putting filler stuff. I mean, you're not getting Daniel Corchino in Museum. He's not rearing his ugly head. And because the Mets were so loaded, they tend to dominate the cases when you have a more limited production run.
Right.
Now, you say, what could they do about it? I mean, yeah, they could print more and water it down, and then the hits are all spread out. But who wants to buy? Who wants to buy? I don't know. Who wants to buy the Pirates and get Sid Bream?
Yeah, not for nothing. I mean, but obviously $2,100 for a case of cards, that's a pretty significant investment. And if I were to put in that type of money, I would want to get, I'm not saying equal value. That's not my expectation, but Sid Bream would be highly disappointing, John.
Well, right, but my point is, in order to get an equal number of hits, relatively speaking,
Right.
you either have to increase the numbering on the cards, or you have to put more players. You have to have more subjects on your checklist. So one of two things, those are your two choices.
One nice thing that Museum does is, like, every team has a team card and has 4 players, which means all those 4 players have a jersey typically in the product, and sometimes they have like additional guys on there. So that does end up giving you, a pretty nice variety of potential players to hit from, as opposed to, like, say, Dynasty, where, obviously there are sometimes there's not even a team in Dynasty. It's pretty much just, the best players or whoever they could contract to get on there. I think Museum does have a pretty nice spread of good players that have relics and have autographs. Now, I didn't look at the list. Do they still have, like, the cut autographs, like Ruth and Gehrig and Clemente and all that?
The cut autograph list is just insane.
Yeah. I think Museum probably has one of the better cut autograph lists. It usually does.
Yeah, I mean, it was phenomenal. There's one card in that set that I just haven't had 5 seconds to check eBay. There's one card I would love to own, because I don't know if he has any other autographs from packs, is the Harry Carey cut.
Oh, nice. I have seen some Harry Carey cards out there through the years.
Licensed ones, though?
Yeah. I want to say yes. I can't think of the product, man. I'm so sorry. But they're few and far between. Like, he's not a regular signer. I mean, and that's funny that you say that, because, one thing that I think Topps has a hard time with in general is finding unique, things to make the product different. So that's why I like when, like, Keith Olbermann signs for Heritage, or Will Ferrell. I think that's something really cool to mix it up. So Harry Carey with the cut, that would be pretty cool, man. I didn't know what other unique, really, items got thrown in the museum. Edwin, do you know?
I mean, they changed up a couple things this year. They added a couple different types of cards, but I don't know. Nothing really comes off the top of my head.
So it's usually like, because it's usually bat barrels, bat knobs, the cut signatures of, like, the really rare guys. Museum provides a good opportunity to hit those. Johnny, what's your big hit been so far? Anything really stand out from the 6 that you opened?
Big hit so far. We got a Trout patch auto, a Chris Bryant number to 5 auto, the Noah Syndergaard. I guess you call it the logo tag, not the MLB logo tag, but the Rawlings tag. Right. We got a Noah Syndergaard 1/1 auto. Yeah, we got some nice stuff, man. We didn't get anything like in the thousands, but we got a lot of 3s and 4s and 500s.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat that, man. That's pretty solid for sure. So, like I said, I just want my 4. I got my out of 25 Pirates quad with my patches on it. I got my McCutcheon with part of the Pirate logo, and then 3 other really nice pieces. I got a Machado 3-color patch, and Machado primary pieces with a really nice patch on it. So I think I'm pretty retired from Museum now. I got all the ones I really wanted, other than Harper. I gotta seek out my Nats quad and my Bryce Harper patches, but we'll get a look on those. All told, I did pretty good, man. I think I paid around $80 a piece for the Pirates cards. which is not bad considering McCutcheon usually does pretty good, and the Pirates quad was really good. And the Machados weren't bad. They were like $30 a piece, so they've been pretty good. Not much of a segue or transition, but one thing I'm thinking about doing is buying an autograph of every player on my fantasy league. Just for fun, just so I can have an autograph of every guy that I have on my fantasy team. Do either one of you guys do fantasy?
Football.
Football? Edwin, I talked to you about that. Johnny, you probably just don't have time for a fantasy baseball league, man, do you?
Yeah, I think everyone does it to an extent. The extent of participation is what's really the question.
Yeah, right. Well, no, I just asked because I saw that Buxton got sent down today, back to AAA. Buxton, he was one of those guys that people gambled on. I'm not saying they took him in like the first round, but they had some pretty high expectations for Buxton. Dude's batting 156, striking out like 52% of his at bats. So I suppose some Buxton autos might be taking a dip pretty soon.
I got this one in the mail from Topps like yesterday.
The same one, man.
Yep.
I don't think we've talked about this since it happened. I was mentioning the dive that Buxton is probably going to take. Did we talk about Trevor Story during our last episode? I can't remember. I think our last episode was on April 3rd.
No.
And I don't know if we really talked about it. So, John, did you scour the basement for Trevor Story autos?
Found two.
Hey, man, that was probably $600 right there.
We're laying in soft sleeves that I had no idea were down there.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, man. I think that I've heard some people, I don't like it when people say that. I've seen a few posts on Facebook where people are like, I'm sick of hearing about Trevor's story and his prices and the way it's going. Man, I don't think people are so interested in that as much as they are in the phenomenon of a guy who is laying in penny sleeves in your basement collecting dust, now being a $300 and $350 auto. I think that's an exciting story for the hobby, man. I think that's really cool. Dude, I went through mine. Are you kidding? I didn't find any. But I was looking for Trevor Stories. I ended up finding like 8 like regular cards, like like numbered whatever, but no autographs. I didn't find any autographs. But still, I had to go through, man. And like, how often do people actually like? I got to go through my cards and find this thing that just went up, 5,000% in value. So I mean, that's really cool. Edwin, did you look for yours?
No, I probably have some cards. I don't think I have any autos off the top of my head. I've done a pretty good job of starting to catalog my stuff.
Okay, cool.
Spent a lot of time doing it, so I can really search kind of quickly. But I think that's the beauty of it. Every once in a while I do go through my stuff. I'll go through some of the stuff I've gotten from buying collections and things like that. Going back through various different cards. But then I get all sidetracked. You start looking at cards, and then I think that's just the beauty of it. You just kind of gotta get sucked into it, and it is what it is.
Well, you're not selling yours anyway. Yours are going to be found in like 50 years from now, and they're going to be like, oh, that guy, that Bryce Harper kid, he turned out to be something. I'm messing with you.
I got a couple Harpers.
Yeah, but dude, that happened to me. I mean, I dabbled here and there in like the early 2000s, and most of the cards just ended up getting put in boxes because the guys that were good in that time were like, A-Rod, McGuire, Sosa. Sometimes I laugh because like I'll go through my cards from that era, and I'll have like Eric Chavez in like a screw down case, and then I'll have like a Yadier Molina rookie card. Like refractor, like just sitting in a box, no soft sleeve, nothing. But I got Eric Chavez in a magnetic case. So I think it is fun to go through like sometimes and just see what's there or not, and see what little treasures are that you can pick up. So Johnny, how fast did you put those Trevor Stories on eBay? Did you take?
They were sold on Facebook, but very quickly.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you actually take the picture in the basement and post it from the basement? Or did you, like, actually take the card and bring it upstairs? And
as I was running upstairs,
there's a picture of, like, you walking up the stairs in the background, like, holding the card.
The palm and my slipper were in the background.
Yeah, the reason I say that is because then you tend to agree that it's going to be very hard for that value to sustain.
One could make an argument for that. Yes.
I don't know. Reyes has beaten his wife. He may not come back right away, and he plays in Colorado. He's swinging a hot bat. I think the biggest argument against is not his ability to keep producing, numbers. I think the problem with him is what player from Colorado has actually sustained that market value for any extended period of time. One does not exist. Even Tulowitzki, who was great, couldn't do it. So I don't know how he's going to pull that off.
Quite frankly, who has sustained their value, period?
Very few players.
What's that?
I said very few players.
Before you were back in the hobby, if you would have seen what the Pujols Chromes were selling for in his heyday, 2,500 ungraded, and you weren't positive they were real because it was a redemption card and there's fakes and all sorts of stuff. I mean, regularly, 2,500 raw. Boom. How many can I buy? So...
Yeah, Pujols is kind of, that card in particular has made a little bit of a comeback. I mean, it's not the same as like during that time frame, but that particular card. I mean, I find with all of those cards that they kind of go up, they hit their peak, and then they go to about half value. It stays that way for a while, but then after a certain amount of time, like those cards have a bit of a renaissance. I don't know why that is. I think nostalgia. People are just like, oh, I remember when that Pujols was selling for blah, blah, blah. And, if the player sustained any level of success, it sees a little bump. But then there are guys, I mean, there are so many. I just think of Steven Strasburg up front. Because Strasburg is kind of like when I was starting to get more interested in the hobby again. And I was like, oh, my God, like his cards are insane. Price-wise. The guy that I'm really waiting to see if his cards go through the roof is Harper. Because, I mean, I'm not saying this stuff isn't high now, but it was really high when it first came out. Years 2 and 3, it kind of like got into it dropped down, leveled off. Last year, MVP season, saw a nice little bump. But I still don't think his values have really made it back to their original. I could be wrong. I mean, John, you would know better than me. But I don't think his stuff has really made it back to where it could potentially go.
I'm fairly certain it's above. I'm fairly certain you're above water had you invested in 2011 on Harper.
Right.
But the question is, you can get Trout Gems autographs for anywhere between say 1,600 and 2,000, depending on the subs. Harper's still aren't there yet.
That's what I mean.
I think Harper's better than Trout.
I do too.
So,
I honestly do.
Yeah, I mean, I think Harper's better than Trout. So the question is, are those two going to eventually? Is Trout going to come down? Is Harper just going to go straight up? I mean, what happens?
I think playing on the East Coast is a huge advantage for Harper too.
I would agree, but I mean, here's the thing: like Trout stuff is so expensive. My question is, like, when this guy just has an above average season, like a non-phenomenal season, are his prices going to stay this high? Because I can't believe they're still this high. I can't believe
it's like Pujols. Like, that's the Pujols argument, right? Like, Pujols was a machine for like 12 years.
Yeah, but don't forget, Pujols' card was a redemption. There actually is only a limited number of them out there. There are countless numbers.
I'm talking about Bowman Chrome autos.
Yes, Pujols was a redemption.
But when you talk about like Trout and Harper, that's really what I'm talking about too. Is like the Bowman colors, the numbered Bowman.
But I'm talking that about Pujols too. Pujols is the float of Bowman Chrome Pujolses versus Bowman Chrome Trouts.
There's so significantly less. Yeah, there is.
And the point is, Trout stuff is still at astronomical levels.
Yeah. Edwin, do you have any Trout or Harper that you're like holding on to, or?
I don't have a lot of Trout, to be honest with you. I do have quite a bit of Harper. A lot of it is from museum collection that I pulled myself.
Yeah.
Amongst some other like older cards and things like that. But I don't know. I don't get hung up on the whole prospect, and I've seen so many of them, take the turn. I'm just not into, if I get them, I keep them, right? So it's, I mean, if they turn out to be something good,
Yeah.
then cool. If not, then hey, I still got them anyways. Maybe one day.
No, you're right. It doesn't affect you as much, but I mean, dude, I don't have the stomach for prospecting. Like, I just don't. Like,
Yeah.
I can't go spend, whatever it costs, $200 on a Bowman Jumbos and pull 5 guys that are going to work at CVS in 2 years. Like, I don't have the stomach for that, man. And I know every now and again you get the huge hit and the colors and it sells well. But I mean, I'm kind of talking out my ass, man, because that's just my perspective. But John, do you do any prospecting still?
I have not since 2012, but I can tell you this. There's one guy I'm making a big push for in this 2016 Bowman, and yeah, I'm going to make a big push after this guy. Big push.
Who?
I can't reveal it. There's too much.
What if I find some? What if I'm like, hey, I found a whole bunch of this guy. Do you want
Believe
him?
me, if you find him, it will be on eBay or on one of the Facebook groups, and Hollywood will be in there throwing his hat in the ring.
All right, I don't even know who it is, man. For 2016, I don't know enough about it, man.
Todd Van Poppel.
Todd Van Poppel. The name sounds familiar. I think Todd Van Poppel is going to be good. Oakland A's, right?
Yeah. So here's the deal with prospecting, right? So here's the real deal. Here's where you really make money. Correa base Bowman Chrome gems, which was actually a pretty easy card to gem, are like $800, man. $800. It was $100 card a year ago. 100. Okay. Here's the thing. The multiplier does not matter on the golds, the oranges, and the reds. You know why? Find one. And when they pop up, so many people desperately want one because they just haven't seen the light of day since that initial 2 and 3 months of ripping. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
the desirability is very high.
There is huge money to be made in the low-numbered colors stuff if you hit on your player.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, I have always been one of the people that I'm most interested in, like the patches and the autographs of like Hall of Famers and like established players. But now that I've been doing this for a couple years now, I'm kind of bored. And what I mean by that is, like, how many Juan Marichal autographs does one need in their collection until they have a sufficient amount of Juan Marichal? So I'm thinking about getting into the prospecting with the low-numbered stuff a little bit more. Just for the fun of it, man. Because it does actually seem fun.
Well, it's fun. It's definitely fun if you're willing to stay up on it. But, like, here's a great example. I've showed some people these, but I've got these laying right here. Some Josh Bell, okay?
Yeah.
Blue, gold, and orange. It was not fun when he got drafted and decided, you know what? I'm not playing this season. I'm taking the rest of the year off. It's not fun then. It's not fun. It's not fun when he, hurts something and he misses a season. So I'm telling you, man, it's like there's a lot of juice in these, but there's also a lot of things that are just out of anybody's control that drive these things.
That's what I said about joking about getting 5 autographs of guys who work at CVS. Because
but those are the best ones. Those are the best ones. Here's why. If you buy a huge lot from somebody that opened a bunch of Bowman and they're all commons, and you get them for say $5 a piece, you buy 100 of them for $500. Okay, dude, you could hit 5 of those cards could turn out to pay for your investment if the guy pops. One of those cards could pay for your investment if the guy pops. Trout was a $5 autograph, man. $5.
Yeah, that's hard to put in perspective. But it makes sense. He was the 27th pick. He wasn't. Who was the number 1 pick? In baseball, it doesn't matter.
In 2009.
Well, it's like everyone goes crazy for Dansby Swanson. And I'm like, yeah, he'll probably be fine. But Jeff King was a #1 overall pick. Who cares? Like, the guys that pop in baseball are very rarely the #1 overall pick.
Speaking of Dansby Swanson, I can't imagine how sick people that loaded up on his 2015 Bowman autograph are, because he's now got a 2016 Bowman Prospect Chrome Auto, not the RC logo, in a Braves uniform.
In a Braves uniform. Do you really think it'll devalue the 15 that much?
Look at the price. Look at the difference in price between the 13 and the 14 Chris Bryant autograph.
Well, the 13 is more.
Way more, but
Way more.
He's also still a Cub.
Yeah.
People want him in the Braves uniform.
Yeah.
That was really bad move by Topps.
I think so much of that, man, that kind of stuff. I'm not like, it does exist, but that is such a matter of taste.
But think about it for a second, okay? Let's say Andrew McCutchen signed a free agent deal with the whomever. Are you still going to buy Andrew McCutchen stuff?
That motion you just made.
Yeah.
To answer your question, the first 2009 draft pick was Strasburg.
Strasburg, okay.
Here's my version of prospecting right here. Ryan Ripken.
Ryan Ripken, yeah. Of course. And you'll probably have... Now, when he is a kid, are you going to go get his autograph when he's old enough to write?
Yeah, I mean, if he has a baseball card, I'll be buying that one too.
There you go. I'm sorry, Johnny. What were you saying?
I don't remember.
Oh, man. Sorry to cut you off.
That's okay.
It was about the uniform, the difference in uniforms. Like the guys who...
Yeah, so would you buy a McCutchen in a different uniform?
Dude, if McCutchen leaves the Pirates, I will not buy another Andrew McCutchen card.
So, and that's...
Because I'd be so angry.
And that's how people are with...
I'd mostly be angry at the Pirates.
But
because that's the story of my life with the Pirates. They finally have, a great player, and, they would let him walk. Dude, I'm still mad they let Barry Bonds go. I can't even imagine if they let Andrew McCutchen go. They might set the city on fire.
Well, I mean, I guess that's my point, is when these guys switch teams, people start to care a lot less about the other card in the old uniform. And that's what you're going to have right here with Dansby Swanson.
I mean, that is true. In football, guys can change teams, and people really don't mind as much. But in baseball, man, it's still so regional that people are less attached to a player than they are to... They're, way more attached to their teams than they are a player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's especially true in baseball, and less so in a lot of the other major sports.
I agree.
Well, the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about tonight, and I know we do predominantly a baseball card show, but was Steph Curry's knee, man. He's going to be out for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
That's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad. And quite frankly, believe it or not, I actually think that I'm telling you right now, that series is going 7 games. San Antonio and Golden State. What's that?
San Antonio and Golden State.
It's going 7 games.
About Houston. I was about to get my tinfoil hat out from our last conversation. I'm kidding you.
Houston stinks.
They do.
They stink. They stink. But San Antonio Golden State is going 7 games, and I'm telling you, even with a healthy Curry, Greg Popovich, this guy it's just unbelievable. This man, he's a genius. I'm telling you, the game goes 7 games. It's a coin flip. It's not a walk in the park for Golden State like everyone thinks.
Yeah. Edwin, where are you on basketball, man? You check it out?
I watch it. I mean, being down here where I am, there's a lot of Heat fans.
Yeah.
But I watched a little bit of the game over the weekend at a barbecue. I don't know. I kept hearing that Steph's going to be out for 2 weeks. I mean, you think he's going to be back before then?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll hold him out. See, here's the thing. I think Golden State can still beat the Clippers without him anyway. I really do. Because the Clippers they're one of those teams, dude. When you say the name Clippers, it's just synonymous with fucking up. I don't know. It's kind of like the joke from The Simpsons. He pulled a homer. Yeah, they pulled a Clippers. Like, I just feel like the Clippers are just going to mess it up somehow. Even though without Curry, I think the Clippers are actually a more talented team. I just don't see them beating Golden State even without Curry. I mean, the one thing that's kind of amazing about the NBA, as opposed to like baseball or even football, is that in basketball, the best team usually does win. Like, just because of the way the series are set up. Like, baseball's so long, there can be so many injuries, like, crazy stuff can happen. Even the best teams in baseball don't win, like, 90% of the time like the Clippers do. Like, oh my God, the 27 Yankees didn't even win that much with Murderers Row. And in football, football's one game where, like, just the ball could bounce in the wrong direction. Like, who knows? But in basketball, man, if you watch it enough, I mean, you can pretty much observe what's going on and say, like Cleveland is going to the NBA Finals. Like, there's no doubt about. I don't care who they play from the Eastern Conference. I know that the Cavaliers are going to be in the finals. But still, I found that watching that Cavs-Pistons series was still kind of fun. Even though the Cavs swept them, like, those were competitive games, but they're just better. So, if anything, this Curry injury kind of does is it makes it more interesting.
I'll tell you what's going to be really interesting. Don't forget, Curry came into the league incredibly injury prone. Incredibly.
Yeah.
What happens if, God forbid, this guy is out for half the season next year or just twists an ankle? There's people paying $500 for base Topps rookie cards. They better put the nets. I went to Ithaca College, and in Cornell, okay, they have gorges, and all along the bridges for finals week, they have these giant nets. They better have nets next to every bridge in every big city, because that's where everybody's going if Curry ruptures the other Achilles. Right off with that $500 Topps rookie card.
Oh man,
it'll look like the Olympic. It'll look like the Olympic trials with guys swan diving. Minus 500 for a base Topps rookie card.
I just wonder what you guys thought, man. Because if for anything for me, I think the Curry injury made watching the NBA playoffs that much more exciting. Like, you never want to see someone get hurt, but it just kind of is what it is. The dude got hurt, and it's going to make the Clippers series, I mean, that much more interesting.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, you hit the nail on the head is how well they play together. If you take any one of those guys besides Curry, like take Draymond Green, for example, I think this guy had like 18 triple-doubles this year.
Yeah, it was crazy.
If you put him on another team, he's not a superstar. They just play so well together.
Yeah. Well, dude, even their role players, like Iguodala, Iguodala would start on every other team in the league, and he comes off the bench, and even their big guys, and I love, Barbosa. I love Leandro Barbosa, man. I've always thought he's been like a really good player. Yeah. He's like the Boris Diaw of the Spurs, even though like Boris Diaw's a big guy and Barbosa's a little guy. It's just like every time you watch them play, you think to yourself, why doesn't that guy play more? Because all he does is like make buckets, man.
Yeah,
like, every time.
He's a freak athlete, man. Like the passing. He is one of the he has one of the fastest dribbles end to end in the league. Like, but he's just a backup, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, those guys are like the 7-8 guys, and they would be studs on other teams. So, it's pretty amazing.
They're deep for sure, but so is San Antonio. Here's the thing.
Oh no, of course.
It would suck. It would really stink to not see Steph healthy for that series.
It would.
That series is going to be like a circa 1990s series. It's going to be like when it is going to be one of the best NBA series we've seen in probably a decade. It's going to be
very
awesome.
Exciting. Well, what it kind of makes me think of is when the 49ers used to play the Cowboys in the NFC Championship
every year,
and that was kind of what decided. Like, you were just like, well, this is kind of the Super Bowl. Like, it's not going to get the ratings of the Super Bowl, but it pretty much they might as well just call it the Super Bowl because we know they're going to beat the Bills anyway, or what? I'm joking, but whoever they played, San Diego, and etc. down the line. But that was kind of it. And it's amazing that a team with LeBron on it coming from the East, I kind of feel like that Spurs Golden State is kind of like the championship.
100%.
Yeah, it's just kind of amazing. So, all right, guys, I ran a little long tonight. My battery's actually about to die on my computer. I appreciate you hanging out. So, Edwin, where can everyone locate us? Do you have like addresses, or do I need? How do I find us?
I mean, just Google Sultans of Swap. I mean, you can come. You got us on Google Plus. You got us on YouTube.
Google Plus? What is that?
Yeah, that's.
What is Google Plus? I'm serious, dude. Like, what is it like a video channel?
It's
like
Switch's brother.
Yeah, it's like
it's
the
Switch's
brother. Twitter, Vimeo. I mean,
Vimeo.
You Google us, you will find.
What is Vimeo? I thought Vimeo was like Justin Bieber songs.
You can find us out there, man. I'll tell you the most popular channels that people hit us up on. We get a lot of feedback on YouTube, a lot of feedback on Facebook. I think people like the interactivity, between sites, and we get some Twitter love too. So.
All right, man.
Thursday night NFL draft. Carson Wentz, let's go, baby.
Oh, dude, I didn't even think about the NFL draft. Where's my head?
Carson
I don't have
Wentz.
time. My battery is seriously gonna die. But
Carson Wentz is the next Steve McNair, and he's coming to Philly, baby.
So, that's the dumbest trade ever. We could have had so much fun with this, dude. I'd be ripping my hair out. Your face would be red. We'd be yelling because that trade is so dumb. I can't. Seriously, my battery's going to die.
Why do you want to give me a chest pain? I'm getting ready to sit down and watch the show and drink a hot tea, and you want to give me a chest pain.
Take it easy. Thanks for checking us out.
All right, everyone.